War, opposition, struggle. These are all words that hold negative connotations in our mind. Who likes the antagonist after all? But do we need opposition? Do we work best when we have an opposing party? In times of war, we tend to be unified. In the face of tyranny, we advocate for democracy. When confronted by challenges, humans have always overcome. We build bigger and stronger houses to protect against the vengeful earth. We strengthen our democracy in times of growing autocracy. We develop as humans when faced with adversity. Does what doesn't kill us truly make us stronger? That's the question I'll be examining today. October 4th, 1957, 7:28 p.m. Tyuratam, USSR. Just south of a small city in modern-day Kazakhstan, workers scurry about preparing the final steps for the launch of a small object which will transform the world. Weighing only 83 kilograms and 58 centimeters in diameter, it seems improbable that this glorified metallic pool ball will cause international panic. But just hours later, Sputnik, the first object to orbit the Earth, will cause headlines and pandemonium in all westernized nations. A headline in the New York Times reads, "Soviet fires satellite into space. It is circling the globe at 18,000 miles an hour, severe traction 4 crossings over the U.S." Behind the Iron Curtain, however, Khrushchev is triumphant. The United States for years has considered themselves superior to the backward Soviets, making few actual advances, while the Soviets worked tirelessly, railing against the global superpower. In many ways, these two nations are the antithesis of each other. While the United States advocates for individual responsibility and free market capitalism, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics scoff at these westernized ideals. Determined to be different, to be better than the West, the USSR emphasizes the role of the commune, state management of business, and the abolition of private industry. The USSR and the US look to each other to develop their own identities, and in doing so, create roughly opposite societies. In the US, the launch of Sputnik triggered a palpable societal shift, the repercussions of which are still reverberating today. Shocked by the successful orbit of a Soviet satellite, Americans realized that their science and technology was actually, in their years of relative complacency, falling behind that of the previously dubbed inferior Soviets. In a period known as the Sputnik Crisis, Congress overhauled its approach to space technology, also reforming education and infrastructure in the process. NACA Director Hugh Dryden stated that it is of great urgency and importance to our country, both from consideration of our prestige as a nation as well as military necessity, that this challenge of Sputnik be met by an energetic program of research and development for the conquest of space. Sputnik and the growing power of an opposing nation created an intellectual renaissance of sorts for both nations regarding the math and the sciences. This space race between opposing nations led to the first man on the moon, new propulsion systems, new technologies like the infrared thermometer, the space blanket, memory foam, insulation, solar panels, freeze-dried foods, cochlear implants, the CAT scan, and even the internet. Here, we clearly see the impact competing nations have on one another and for society as a whole. The advancements made during the Cold War, because of the Cold War, shot humanity into the future and into the stars. However, these sort of counterintuitive developments are by no means restricted to the Cold War. Immediately after World War I, we saw the introduction of inventions like the zipper, stainless steel, and wristwatches into society, all of which had been invented or perfected during the Great War. World War II brought about the commercialization of penicillin and other antibiotics, with penicillin alone thought to be responsible for saving the lives of around 200 million people to date. New sterilization procedures for surgical equipment was implemented, preventing sepsis and gangrene. And more recently, the concept of the medevac helicopter was pioneered during the Korean War. It's not only in direct conflict where the benefits of opposition can be seen. Our democracy, too, works best with many competing parties and interests, a concept known as pluralism. According to French philosopher Raymond Aron, a democracy works best when, quote, the peaceful rivalry for the exercise of power exists constitutionally. Fundamentally, the opposing party in democracy serves to strengthen the overall institution by highlighting flaws in the other, presenting more efficient alternatives, and then implementing them to the benefit of society as a whole. Without opposition, democracy would surely stagnate and die. A quote taken from Resolution 1601 of the Council of Europe on the rights and responsibilities of the opposition in a democratic government sums this all up rather succinctly. Quote, every country has a government, but only democracies have an opposition. Opposition is in nearly all forms is transformative and ultimately positive. Whether in economics, government, or war, conflict between opposing parties creates new and more efficient alternatives to the way things were done yesterday. Without such a force, myopia and complacency would surely crush society under its own dead weight.